It felt like I had somehow stumbled into an infinite loop reality. At first glance, everything seemed normal. I still ran my little ice cream stand at the corner of Pine and 7th. Every day without fail, 3 new customers would appear. Always exactly 3. And they weren't your typical sweet-toothed passers-by. No, these customers were peculiar. They paid generously, but not for ice cream. Instead, they each asked me 3 questions. That was the deal. They handed over crisp bills or rare coins, then leaned across the counter with a seriousness that belied the sunny surroundings, and asked. Today's batch was especially strange. All 3 men were unusually handsome, like models torn from the glossy pages of fashion magazines, but it was their eyes that unsettled me. They burned, like they already knew too much. Like they were waiting for a confession I didn't know I had. The first one asked, "What time does your husband come home each night?" The second leaned in closer, voice low. "Between us and him, who do you think is better?" And the third, his gaze sliding down to the house keys on my apron, smiled and asked, "Would you mind if we came over later for a cup of tea?" The ice cream in my hands began to melt. I couldn't tell if it was the heat or something far more dangerous. Welcome to History channel. Subscribe to follow all our latest adventures. Story begins. It felt like I had fallen into some kind of infinite loop. Every day at my little ice cream stand, like clockwork, 3 customers would appear. Never more, never less. They didn't always want ice cream. Instead, they paid to ask me 3 questions. No more, no less. And little by little, I began to realize something strange. I wasn't living a normal life. I was living like an NPC in an infinite loop world. Every day, I opened the stand at 10 a.m., worked until precisely 6 p.m., and went home. No changes. No surprises. Just a repetitive rhythm that never faltered. I told Maria, the woman who sold crepes at the stall next to mine. "Don't be silly," she rolled her eyes, annoyance written all over her face. "That's just adult life. What infinite loop? If you've got that much free time, why don't you try selling a few more tubs of ice cream?" I lowered my head and stared at my toes, lips pressed in quiet frustration. Maria glanced at me, and then, suddenly, let out a dramatic gasp. "Oh my God, Jane Galton, you're right. Life's so damn repetitive it does feel like we're NPCs spawning in the same spot every day." I knew she was just humoring me, but I couldn't help it. I laughed anyway. "There, you're smiling. That means you won't go tattling to your man again, right? He'll give me grief if you do." Then she reached into her crepe pan and pulled something out. Her eyeball. The one she'd rolled earlier. It had fallen in. She dusted it off and popped it back in like nothing had happened. Whether this was an infinite loop or not, life still had to go on. But today's 3 customers weren't like the usuals. They were ridiculously good-looking, and whispering to each other in the corner with low, urgent voices. The lean boy in the hoodie muttered, "No one's cleared this S-level instance. No walk throughs." The darker-skinned guy with wild eyes and a feral smile replied, "Even better. That means the rewards are gonna be insane." The third, a cold, sharp-eyed man in gold-rimmed glasses, spoke without expression. "I paid to access every death replay in this instance." He glanced over at me, then leaned in, lowering his voice. One of the players flipped her table. Everything went smoothly for a few days, but on the final day, he was impaled by flying splinters and bled out. The wild one immediately sobered, looking me up and down with caution. "And another," the man with the glasses continued, "ate 3 scoops of ice cream without paying." Again, smooth sailing for several days. Until the final day, when his stomach was force-fed until it ruptured. The boy in the hoodie visibly shivered and tightened the drawstrings around his neck. Glasses concluded calmly, "Every player who caused trouble at the ice cream stand died, without exception, on the final day. So I suspect she's the final boss?" the hoodie kid blurted. The wild one looked me over skeptically. With those noodle arms? But Glasses shook his head. You didn't hear that voice just now? The strange tone. He lowered his voice further. I don't think she's the boss. I think her husband is. And she's the key to beating the game. All three turned to stare at me. I flinched. Didn't anyone ever teach them it's rude to stare at girls like that? Also, just saying, I have excellent hearing. These guys were clearly deep into some collective delusion. Worse than me. Totally beyond saving. Later, the one with the glasses came over and asked for a scoop of vanilla. He took a single bite, frowned, and put the spoon down. I frowned too. I don't like sweet things, he explained, as if that made it any better. Oh. I lowered my head, a little deflated. It always stung when someone rejected something you'd made with care. After a moment's pause, he picked the spoon back up and started eating again. He ate with elegance. The cuffs of his suit shirt were neatly rolled to the forearm, revealing a luxury watch and a lean, muscular wrist. I'm done, he said quietly, setting down the empty cup. I smiled, eyes curving. Thanks for coming. That'll be 12 yuan. But instead of reaching for his wallet, he looked up, at the empty air above us, like something was floating there. I looked too. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Sorry, he said, withdrawing his gaze and adjusting his gold-rimmed glasses with slender fingers. I'll give you 200 yuan. May I ask you a question? Of course. My smile deepened. He asked, what time does your husband usually get home at night? I looked at him, startled. Is that a question you can't answer? He asked with a polite smile. I shook my head, and before my brain could catch up, my mouth replied, my husband hasn't been home in a long time. Even I was surprised by what I had just said. But it was true. Suddenly I remembered. It had been a long time since my husband last came home. He was just always too busy. The man with the glasses blinked thoughtfully. He hasn't come home at all, huh? Then who's better, him or us? Said the dark-skinned man with the wild eyes. His voice smooth with mischief. I turned toward him, caught off guard. He met my gaze, and in that instant, as if trying to deflect the awkwardness, he grabbed the cup of half-melted chocolate ice cream in front of him and chugged it down in one go. Too quickly. Some of it dribbled down, staining his chest. My eyes followed. He wore a sleeveless polo that clung a little too tightly to his chest, where his muscles were faintly outlined beneath the fabric. He wiped the almond milk from his chest with the back of his hand, flashing a grin. I'll give you 200 too. Now answer my question. I hesitated, frowning slightly. I don't know. Of course I knew my husband, but these three strangers? I had no way of comparing. The moment I said it, they started muttering among themselves again. She can't see our talent levels? Probably a non-combat NPC. They usually can't. Great. You wasted a question with your big mouth. The kid in the hoodie cursed under his breath. He'd barely touched his pistachio ice cream, too busy running his mouth. I asked gently, do you want to ask something too? He opened his mouth, but before he could speak, the man with the glasses held out a hand to stop him. Later. I nodded and quietly observed them as they whispered amongst themselves again. My eyes drifted back to the hoodie kid. He looked the youngest of the three, with a pair of white headphones slung around his neck. His skin was pale and clean, a tiny teardrop mole just beneath the corner of one eye. His dark bangs were a little messy, falling into his face. His words came out in rapid fire. What should I even ask? What's the point of asking anything? If the key clue is her husband, he snapped, then there's nothing to learn at this damn ice cream stand. He slammed his palm on the table. The man in glasses moved to stop him again, but the boy had already blurted out, Hey, can we go to your place for a cup of tea? The question was bold. And my mouth, once again bypassing my brain, answered before I could stop it, Sure. All three of them turned to stare at me in shock. Regret flickered across my face. What the hell was I thinking, agreeing to something so outrageous? I quickly added, "Sorry. I don't think that's very convenient." They started murmuring again. Why'd she agree and then change her mind? The system prompt says, players may spend 200 ghost coins to ask her one question. She will not lie. If she said yes, it means her home does hold a clue. But if she's suddenly saying no, then maybe it's part of her character setting. They all turned to look at me. I blinked innocently back at them. The man with the glasses cleared his throat and finished his theory. She's supposed to be a gentle, devoted wife. Then without warning he stood. His tall figure loomed over me, casting a long shadow that dimmed the light around us. "You already agreed, ma'am," he said. I stammered. "Can't I change my mind?" He shook his head slowly, tapping the edge of the counter with a single finger. "Breaking your word in business comes with consequences." My stomach twisted. I remembered, all too clearly, the news from a few weeks ago. An angry customer had hacked a vendor to pieces right on this street. I didn't want to end up like that. So I bit my lip and asked, "Do we really have to go?" "Yes," he said without hesitation. He stepped in closer. His unfamiliar scent, heavy and assertive, rushed over me like a wave, making it hard to breathe. "Oh, okay," I choked out. I didn't really have a choice. My husband was always away. And there was no one else I could count on. Tears welled up in my eyes. I let out a few soft sobs, and the man's stern face immediately softened. He let out a quiet sigh, voice gentler. "Don't be afraid. We won't do anything to you." He reached out, hesitantly, almost touching the top of my head. But just as his fingers were about to brush my hair, he paused, frozen, staring at his own hand like it didn't belong to him. I looked up at him, eyes full of tears. Thank you for comforting me." He stumbled backward like I'd shocked him. His back hit the edge of the table. The bowl of pistachio ice cream spilled everywhere. "Well, that's it," the hoodie kid said with a shrug and a smirk. "If we can't break the loop, guess we'll all die together on the last day." At 6, I closed up the stand. And true to my word, I brought them home. But the moment they stepped through the door, they turned into burglars, rummaging through everything like they owned the place. I was terrified. "Wait. You said you wouldn't do anything to me." The man with the glasses avoided my pleading eyes. The dark-skinned one lit a cigarette, letting smoke drift lazily from his lips as he exhaled directly into my face. "Sweetheart, when a man makes a promise, you shouldn't take it too seriously. You understand." I coughed violently, trying to wave the smoke away. Then he sniffed. His eyes narrowed as he looked me over, strangely dazed, like he was trying to place something. "You wearing perfume?" he asked, voice low. "Smells real nice." I mumbled, asking if he could please stop smoking. To my surprise, he put it out without complaint. But his gaze sharpened instantly. He seemed startled by himself, even irritated, and suddenly shoved me toward the master bedroom. "Got a wedding photo in there? I want to see what your husband looks like." He stepped into the bedroom and froze. He stared at the framed photo on the wall. The cigarette almost fell from his lips. "What the fuck?" I blinked at the wedding photo on the wall, not seeing anything out of the ordinary. But the dark-skinned man squinted and said, "Why does your husband's face look like a cloud of black fog?" Nonsense. My husband was handsome. Undeniably handsome. "Hey, look what I found." A voice rang out excitedly from the front door. I turned toward it and saw my husband. He stood there, holding up his employee badge, perfectly real and solid. I ran to him, threw my arms around his waist, and kissed the corner of his lips on tiptoe. "Honey, you finally came home." His body stiffened immediately. Like he'd been electrocuted, he pushed me off in a panic. I looked at him, hurt, biting my lower lip in confusion. "Why did you push me, honey?" That's when I noticed. He was wearing a hoodie. It looked familiar. Where had I seen it? The wild-looking man glanced between us, then turned to the wedding photo. He cursed under his breath. "Fuck. Don't tell me this instance requires someone to pretend to be her husband?" "Stop crying," he shouted. I shut my mouth instantly, swallowing my sobs and sniffling quietly. Being someone's wife meant swallowing a lot of grievances. But after a moment, he walked back over, visibly awkward, his jaw tight. "I didn't mean to yell," he muttered. "I'm just not used to this." Wait, was that an apology? I blinked. My sadness vanished instantly. It's okay. He hadn't been home in a long time. Of course he wasn't used to it. He'd get used to it again soon. I smiled and asked sweetly, "Honey, should we go to bed now?" He froze. "Go to bed." Then his eyes locked onto something in midair. The whole living room echoed with his pained wail. "No way. This is part of the mission too." He stared at the other two with a look of a man on the edge. And before my eyes, things got blurry. It was like he was switching skins in front of me. First, he stood there in the hoodie shouting, "I can't do this mission. I've never done this before." His employee badge flew through the air in a clean arc. He transformed into the wild one. "If you can't, I definitely can't. I'm still a damn virgin." Another arc. The badge landed again. He turned into the guy with the gold-rimmed glasses. "What makes you think I'm not?" Two pairs of sharp eyes turned toward him. "You too? Get out of here." The man with glasses adjusted them calmly and said, "She kissed you. That makes you the husband." Another toss of the badge. The guy in the hoodie looked like he was about to collapse. "Your wife. Your wife." The badge was still flying. The dark-skinned man shrugged. "She doesn't like my cigarette smell. If I go in there, she'll probably hack me to pieces before midnight." Then they started playing rock, paper, scissors. I watched in growing confusion. Why was my husband arguing with them like he was one of them? Timidly, I asked, "Honey, when are we going to bed? And, shouldn't your two friends be leaving?" The game ended. He walked over, a dark cloud over his face. "They're staying. Both of them. They're my friends." He knew them. Relieved, I beamed. "Welcome, both of you." They greeted me cheerfully, faces lit up like they'd just escaped a near-death experience, with a weird little spark of glee, like they were enjoying something I wasn't in on. I took my husband's hand, smiling. "You look best in this outfit." I finally took a good look at him again. He was wearing a hoodie, wearing headphones around his neck, pale skin, clear features, messy black bangs falling across his forehead. I tiptoed up and kissed the tiny mole by his eye. "You're my favorite." His face flushed bright red. Behind us, two soft snickers echoed through the air. He slept that night fully clothed, lying on top of the blanket. I curled under the covers and asked, "Aren't you cold, honey?" His teeth chattered. "No." "Have you heard of the foot-clawing ghost?" I asked casually. He blinked. "That's gotta be some freaky thing." "What? It scratches your feet in the middle of the night." "Sometimes," I said sweetly. "But it might claw your scalp or scoop your heart out too." He shivered. I batted my lashes. "But the blanket has a protective ward. As long as you stay under the covers, they won't come for you." He believed me. And he dove straight under. I lied, of course. Being a wife means knowing when to lie to get your husband to behave. The next morning, he burst out of the bedroom in a panic. "Why the hell am I half naked?" I strolled out behind him, calm and unbothered. "You got under the blanket, that's all. No one sleeps in street clothes, honey. It's dirty." His eyes widened in horror. "I haven't slept that hard in a year. And last night I just Passed out. That deep. He stared at me. Did you do something to me last night? I nodded. His face went pale. I'm a monster. Before he could slap himself, I caught his hand and held it. Gently I said, "You told me a lot last night." He blinked. I did. You said you're sick of this twisted game. You've been stuck in it for a year and still haven't cleared it. You said your home life sucked. Your dad gambled, your mom ran off, you dropped out of school, and your grandma died before the game pulled you in. Even if you win, you don't know where to go. He stood there frozen, stunned silent. You really told me all that? He whispered. I threw my arms around him, giving him the biggest hug I could manage. You still have me, sweetheart. Even if work is rough, you can always come home. I won't turn my back on you. I'll sell ice cream to support us. Right then, the door swung open, and the man with the glasses and the wild-looking one strolled out. They caught us mid-embrace. They couldn't hide the amusement curling at the corners of their mouths. Well, aren't you two just the picture of love? Model couple, huh? My husband's face turned bright red, but he didn't push me away. In fact, his hand brushed gently along my spine. Still holding his hand, I led him over to a hidden compartment in the wall, opened it, and pulled out a chainsaw. I handed it to him, smiling sweetly. Go to work, honey. Don't forget your tools. From behind came 2 gasps of utter disbelief. An S-class cursed weapon? She gave it to him. Just for sleeping with her? They suddenly weren't laughing anymore. I was heading off to my ice cream stand. I asked my husband if he wasn't going to work. He had been squinting at his employee badge for ages and finally looked up. What's my job again? You're a doctor, I said. He stared at the chainsaw in his hand. Doctors carry this to work? Well, yeah. Totally normal. He was an orthopedic surgeon. Of course he used chainsaws, sledgehammers, giant metal tongs. The 2 men beside him turned an alarming shade of pale. Where are the hammer and the tongs? Are they S-class too? Is it still early enough to take a nap and reset the flag? Too late. It was almost 10. I had to hurry to open shop. When I returned home at 6, I found my husband, and both of his friends, standing at the door, covered in blood. Totally normal. What kind of doctor doesn't deal with blood? I opened the door, letting them into the house. As soon as they stepped into the living room, all 3 of them looked up at the empty air above. The quest is still active, one of them muttered. My hoodie-clad husband looked at me with wide, hopeful eyes. Well, in that case, I'm going to sleep with my wife now. Then he pouted dramatically and launched into a stream of whiny complaints. Babe, did you know your chainsaw saved me today? I almost died. I nearly never saw you again. Before he could finish his sentence, someone yanked the badge from around his neck. Poof. He turned into the dark-skinned wild one. Sleep? You wanna sleep? She gave you an S-class weapon and now you wanna sleep? Let the rest of us have a turn, he crowed, arms wide as he strode toward me. Honey, I'm coming. But before he reached me, a pale, elegant hand snatched the badge from him. Now it was the man with the glasses. You don't need a cursed item to swing your fists around. Kindly protect the team's only brain. The badge flew again. The boy in the hoodie stomped his foot in protest. No. That's my wife. Haven't you guys heard the saying, don't mess with your friend's girl? Back off. The badge changed hands again. The man with glasses let out a cold laugh. You really think you're the husband? Try calling her. See if she answers. The boy turned to me with nervous eyes. Babe. I frowned and took a step back. You can't just call me that. His whole body seemed to crumble. The man with the glasses smirked, voice dripping with satisfaction. Darling, come here. Delighted, I rushed into his arms. He caught me with ease. But, Something felt off. The scent was unfamiliar. I looked up. The wild one had his fingers hooked through the badge, twirling it lazily. Everyone says I'm all brute force. If I don't do something with it, what's the point? Panicked, I shoved away from the man with the glasses. I'd hugged the wrong one. I felt dirty. I couldn't forgive myself. Hot tears welled in my eyes and spilled down my cheeks. The boy in the hoodie took a step forward, but stopped short when he saw the guarded look in my eyes. The wild one grinned. Ah, babes crying? We were just playing a little game. Guess who's your real hubby? I sobbed even louder. How could they treat me like this? The hoodie boy mumbled, "Stop crying. We won't play anymore." The wild one sneered. Seriously? Getting soft now? She's heartless, man. Don't you get it? The boy's lips trembled slightly. He looked at me for a long moment, then turned to the wild one and said low and firm, "Don't mess with her." His eyes unsettled me, and I shrank back into the arms of the one still holding me. The wild one casually wrapped an arm around my waist. "Come on, babe. Time for bed." I followed him quietly. But even as we walked away, I could feel that scorching gaze burning into my back. It didn't fade until I closed the door. Inside the bedroom, I wrinkled my nose and shoved at his chest. "You stink." He grinned. "Long as you smell nice, that's enough." He moved to sit on the bed, but I kicked him off and made him shower. He even brushed his teeth 3 times before I let him under the covers. Tonight, he was full of swagger, but the moment he got under the blanket, he became obedient. The instant I touched him, he winced. He'd stripped off his shirt because I said it stank. I lifted the blanket and looked. Bruises. Swelling. Cuts that had blistered and gone white. I burst into tears. "Honey, did some crazy patient do this to you?" The wild one chuckled, answering vaguely, "Yeah. Patient problems." I hugged him tightly. His muscles tensed, and his voice grew nervous. Don't get any ideas." My tears splashed onto his chest. He flinched like I'd burned him. He fumbled to wipe them away. "Don't cry. I'm fine. Really." I nuzzled against him, my cheek pressed to his chest. "Tell me what happened." He breathed in the scent of my hair, and for a moment, his eyes went soft. Dazed, even. "I'm used to it," he said finally. "I'm the tank. It's my job to take the hits for the team. It just hurts sometimes." His voice faltered. Then suddenly, he scooped me up into his arms. He buried his face in my shoulder and murmured, voice muffled and pained, "I lied, babe. It hurts like hell." And in the hollow of my shoulder, I felt a single drop of warmth. I gently stroked his unruly hair. "Don't cry," I murmured. "Let me heal you, okay?" "Okay. Babe, blow on it for me." The next morning when I woke up, he was sitting at the edge of the bed, still shirtless. He stared down at his beautifully tanned skin in disbelief, running his hand across it like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Where are my injuries? All those wounds. They're gone after one night of sleep?" I walked in holding his clothes fresh from the dryer. As I helped him into his shirt, I gave him a peck on the cheek. "Next time you come home smelling that bad, I'm not going to pay you any attention." He froze. His face actually looked darker than before. Did he not like my kiss? Disheartened, I lowered my head. "If you don't like it, I won't kiss you anymore." I tried to slip away, but he caught my hand. His eyes locked onto my lips. His voice dropped, deep and hoarse. "It's not that I didn't like it. You just kissed the wrong spot." I blinked in confusion. "Then, where should I kiss you?" He pointed to his lips. "You kissed me yesterday. Now it's my turn." I gave him a light, quick peck. And when I looked again, I noticed something odd. His face was even darker than before. But wait. Was he blushing? And I didn't even notice because his tan was too dark? He was so cute. Laughing, I pounced back into his arms and kissed him again. This time he sat there stunned, murmuring softly, "I'm done for." Out in the living room, the other two were already waiting. The boy in the hoodie stared at me with eyes full of longing and bitterness, so sticky and intense it made my skin crawl. I stepped back nervously and bumped into a warm chest. My wild-looking husband casually wrapped his arms around me. "Why'd you stop walking?" The hoodie boy's eyes zeroed in on his hand around my waist, as if he could burn a hole through it. But my husband only pulled me in tighter. "Do I get a gift today, babe?" "A gift?" I tilted my head, puzzled. His eyes sparkled with anticipation. "You know, like a sledgehammer, giant pliers. Anything really. As long as it's S-class." I didn't really understand. So I shook my head. Disappointment flickered across his face, but he quickly recovered and pressed a kiss to the corner of my lips. "That's okay. You're already the best gift." Blushing furiously, I tried to shove him away. There were people watching. The man with glasses raised an eyebrow, a rare trace of surprise in his usually calm expression. "Wait, you two." Then the hoodie kid lunged forward and grabbed my husband by the collar and punched him square in the face. I screamed. The man with glasses yanked the hoodie boy back. My husband wiped the corner of his busted lip, unfazed. "It's nothing." I leaned over, gently touching his split lip. "You're hurt again." He grinned and leaned in shamelessly. "One kiss and I'll be all better." Blushing, I pushed him away again. Then I walked into the kitchen and returned with a lunchbox I'd packed the night before. The hoodie boy's eyes turned red. S-class healing supplies. That was supposed to be for me. But my husband took my hand, brought it to his lips, and kissed it. Then he looked straight at the hoodie boy with a smug smirk. "She's my wife." The boy looked like he was going to explode. Just as they looked ready to fight again, the man with glasses stepped in and dragged them both outside. The door slammed shut behind them. I glanced at the time, heart light. I had to head to work too. That evening, the air in the house felt heavy. My husband's tan had faded, and he wasn't wearing the hoodie anymore. He adjusted the glasses on his nose and asked calmly, "Is it okay if I stay with her tonight?" "No!" both men shouted at once. The man with the glasses gave a thin-lipped smile. "Doesn't matter. If we let her keep going like this, our party's done for." The wild one raised a brow like he wanted to argue, but just clenched his teeth around an unlit cigarette. He kept flicking his lighter, but it wouldn't catch. The hoodie kid finally snapped. "She's my wife." "Mine." Smack. The man with the glasses slapped him across the face. The kid stared at him in disbelief. "Better now?" the man with glasses asked flatly. The boy turned red, fuming, but said nothing. Then the man with glasses turned to me and ordered, "Come here." I went to his side obediently. "Kiss me." I fidgeted with my fingers, feeling a little embarrassed. His voice rang out again, flat and cold. "Kiss me." I thought maybe he just wanted to show off. Everyone else had. As his wife, shouldn't I help him save face? So blushing, I leaned in and kissed his cheek. But as I turned to leave, he suddenly grabbed my face and turned me to the others. "Look closely," he snapped. "She doesn't have feelings. She's just a cursed being. Whoever wears the badge is the one she calls husband. She doesn't love any of you. Don't you get it?" His grip hurt. I didn't understand why he was yelling. But I heard one word. Love. I stared at him, dazed, then reached up to hold his wrist and wrap my arms around his neck. "Honey, don't be mad, okay? I swear, I only love you. Isn't that enough?" He went quiet. His eyes dropped to me, and his expression shattered. "Fuck," the dark-skinned one muttered from the side. The hoodie kid's eyes turned wild. If I just keep holding the badge, does that mean she'll always love me? The man with the glasses dragged me into the room, face unreadable. Don't talk to him again, he warned, voice low. Don't go near him. He didn't sleep that night. Not in the bed. Not anywhere near me. He spent the night hunched on the reading chair beside the bed. Soon, I could hear the steady rhythm of his breathing. I slipped quietly out of bed and padded over to him. Carefully, I removed his glasses. His high-bridged nose and deep-set eyes were strikingly handsome, if not for the thick cloud of dark energy gathered between his furrowed brows. Crunch. Crunch. I straddled his lap. Cradling his head, I leaned down and started biting away at the dark mist coiling above his forehead. With each bite, the gloom lightened. His tense brows gradually smoothed, and then his eyes opened. Beaming with pride, I chirped, "Honey." He had been so cold to me tonight. It had to be that cursed energy cloud messing with him. But I was fixing it. I was almost done. I thought he'd be pleased. Instead, he stared at me for a few shaky breaths, then said coolly, "Get off." I cried myself to sleep that night. When I woke the next morning, the reading chair was empty. I wandered into the living room. He sat on the sofa, eyes cold as he glanced at me, then immediately looked away. The hoodie boy crouched in the corner, gazing up at me with big, mournful eyes. The wild one fiddled silently with his unlit lighter. Ignoring all of them, I sat neatly beside my glasses-wearing husband. "Good morning, honey." He didn't respond. I reached out for a hug. He pushed me away without a word. Two scorching gazes from behind burned into my back. Then he gave the faintest smirk. Hard to say no to her, huh? My heart ached at his indifference. But as a wife, being the first to lower your head wasn't so bad. I loved him after all. Blinking away the sting in my eyes, I took out the gift I had prepared days earlier. Maria says quitting smoking is hard. So I made you some nougat candy. Whenever you want a cigarette, try chewing one of these instead, okay? Clack. The lighter hit the floor behind me. Fuck. I've had it. Suddenly, the wild one stormed back into frame. He scooped me into his arms in one fluid motion, and kissed me hard without warning. They were fighting again. "You have got to get a grip," the man with glasses snapped. "She's a cursed being. A monster. Do you want to be stuck in this game forever?" The wild one glanced down at me. He ruffled my hair gently, his eyes full of warmth. "I'm fine with not going back." The man with glasses sneered. "All this for a creature with the memory span of a goldfish?" The wild one's smile disappeared. "You can insult me, but leave her out of it." The man with glasses kicked over the coffee table. "What part of this am I wrong about?" "Ha! You hold the badge, she calls you husband. Today it's you, tomorrow it's me, the day after it'll be someone else. What's so special about her that she deserves your real feelings?" Crack. The wild one's punch sent his glasses flying. "Watch your fucking mouth." The man with glasses raised his head slowly, his sharp phoenix eyes now cool and dangerous. "Am I wrong?" he asked, voice razor sharp. The wild one snapped. "What the fuck do you know? You, born with your damn silver spoon, playing the perfect heir to some billion-dollar company. You don't know shit about us. We're not your subordinates, we're your teammates." I was a starving orphan, left for dead. He was a street rat who nearly died in a gutter. You've never been unloved. But me. His voice cracked raw with emotion. "This is the first time in my life I've felt loved. I've been in this goddamn game for a year. I'm losing my mind. Doesn't matter how many points I earn if I'm always one mistake from being butchered." That night, when I got to be her husband, that was the first time I slept like a human being. She loves me. I can feel it. I'm done playing. I'm done with this fucked up life and this fucked up game. Silence stretched like wire. The man with glasses calmly retrieved his fallen frames, slid them on, and returned to his usual composed demeanor. "But she's a cursed entity," he said softly. "And the 7-day instance ends in 4. You've got 3 more nights with her. After that, it's either clear the game, or die in it. There's no third option. There is no happy ending." That was all he said. What he didn't say was why, after saying it, his chest still ached faintly. He liked to think of himself as the rational one. He knew how to weigh risks. "If the ending's not set, then we'll keep going until it is," the wild one muttered. "Suit yourself." They turned, preparing to head out for the day. Only to find the hoodie boy standing there, badge in one hand, my hand in the other, pulling it to his cheek. "You said I was your favorite, right? Look at me. Remember me, please." Shit. They fought all day. Then they fought again when I got home that night. "You hate her, remember? Then why the hell are you fighting over her? 3 nights left. 1 per person. Fair, right? Just split her between us and let him fuck off. You 2 already got cursed items. Why should I walk away empty-handed? Oh please, like you didn't use tools to steal the badge." That night, my husband had on the glasses again. I pouted. His brow arched. "Not happy to see me like this? You were mean when you wore that face yesterday," I mumbled. He froze. "You remember?" I stared at him like he was an idiot. Why wouldn't I? That night, he slept in the reading chair again, but this time, he chatted with me for a long time. "You know," he murmured, "I actually slept really well last night. No nightmares." I gave a little sniff. Of course he did. I'd gnawed away all his nightmares. "It was you?" he asked, stunned. "That's why I felt okay today? I've had a splitting headache for months from the poison in my body." He sat upright, gaze sharpening. After a moment he said, "They were wrong, you know. Just because you have money doesn't mean you've been loved. My parents died in a car crash when I was a kid. My grandfather was strict. He only cared about molding me into an heir. My uncle planned my kidnapping. My best friend poisoned me slowly over years. If I hadn't been yanked into this cursed game, I might already be dead." Suddenly, I wasn't sleepy at all. Eyes wide, I watched him and listened to his story. "My real life might look polished and perfect," he said quietly, "but it's a mess underneath." He pressed his palm to his chest. "Honestly, meeting those 2 in this game, that's the first time I've ever had real friends." "I'm sorry about what I said yesterday," he added. "I just didn't want to lose the only 2 friends I've ever had." He looked up again, eyes glassy behind the reflected glint of his lenses. "Your love. It's pure. But also cruel. You give it so completely. And yet it feels like it could disappear at any moment. But being loved like that, it's addictive." I blinked at him. "My story's done," he said at last. "Now it's your turn." He turned to face me, his expression unreadable behind the glare on his glasses. "Your past husbands. What did I look like before?" My mind went completely blank. I searched every corner of my memory, but there was nothing. Nothing at all. "Didn't you say you could remember?" He lay back down, eyes to the ceiling. I couldn't tell if he was relieved or just tired. "So you do forget in the end." Over the next 2 days, he was unusually clingy. And I had 2 of the happiest nights I could remember. So much so that the next morning, he wouldn't let me leave the house. I was nearly late for work. Clad in his hoodie, he hugged me tightly at the door. "Babe, what if I can never see you again? Going on another business trip?" But this time, it hit differently. A hollowness stirred in my chest, deeper than anything before. Had I felt this way during his previous trips? I tried to recall, but again, nothing. His tan skin pressed to mine as he hugged me even tighter. His face tucked into the crook of my neck, voice muffled, thick with emotion. I'll do everything I can to come back to you, even if I have to become one of the cursed. I stroked his messy hair and felt something damp and cool against my skin. He pulled back a moment later, more composed now. No more kisses. No touch. Just a calm voice. Until fate allows it then. But not even a full minute after walking out the door. He came back in. Sorry, he said. He'd forgotten his glasses. Or maybe, he'd never worn them that day to begin with. He left. And the apartment felt hollow. The silence crept in around me like a fog. But in my bank account, cold and mechanical, appeared a sudden 3 million. 3 transfers. Identical amounts. The following days at the ice cream stand, I was out of sorts. Maria yelled at me, "Girl, you've been spacing out like a ghost." On impulse, I turned to her. "Do you remember what my husband looked like?" She rolled her eyes. "You don't remember your own man?" "He was good-looking," she continued with a snort. "But honestly? Generic style. Sometimes it was a hoodie, sometimes he went full sleeveless with the tough guy thing, and sometimes he'd show up in full business suit like a walking stock photo." As she spoke, the next 3 customers appeared. One of them? Real piece of work. He barely touched the ice cream before flipping the table over. "I paid for answers, bitch. And you're telling me you don't know? A non-combat NPC trying to act high and mighty? You want me to chop you up right now?" After they left, I sat sobbing while cleaning up the mess. I wanted to call my husband and cry to him, but he didn't pick up. A few days later, my sister-in-law called. "Jane Galton. You'll love this. Remember the guy who flipped your cart a few days ago? Word is, he got impaled by wood splinters. Swiss cheese, they said. Dead as a doornail. Guess karma is real, huh?" Seriously? God, that felt good. But trouble came again soon after. Another jerk ate 3 scoops of ice cream and didn't pay. When I confronted him, he sneered, "What, so what if I don't pay? Your crappy stand?" Outside the game, I wouldn't even look at it. One of his teammates snorted. Didn't even have cursed coins. What a clown. The guy just laughed louder. "You think I care? There's always a soft target in every cursed world. Look at her. So weak and pretty. She's practically begging to be stepped on." I cried all night when I got home. Still no answer from my husband. But I left him a message. Not long after, Maria came running up to me. "Did you hear? That scumbag? The one who ate for free? Dead. They said he exploded, stuffed to death with ice cream." I blinked, stunned. Stuffed? With ice cream? She paused too, eyes narrowing. "Wait. You think someone's taking revenge on your behalf?" A flash of thought. 3 forms of him, flickering in my memory. Could he really? No. He was just a regular orthopedic doctor. Right. Coincidence. Still, I sent another voice message. "When are you coming back, babe? I miss you." Then today, at 10 a.m., 3 new customers appeared at my stand. All of them handsome. All of them looking at me with eyes that burned. They stood in front of my ice cream stand, whispering among themselves. "So we're really back?" The boy in the hoodie was the most excited. The man with the gold-rimmed glasses replied with his usual calm analysis. S-class instance. Mobius loop. This world is a closed cycle, endlessly repeating. On the 7th day, if you choose to continue the game, you'll meet her again. If you choose to end it, you'll be released. The wild one was chewing on nougat. Damn, what's with all the nerd speak? Bottom line, can we be with our wife again or not? Yes, the man with the glasses said simply. But, still only 7 days. Things got loud again after he came back. Of course they were fighting. God damn it, why'd you come back? You already finished the game. No. Fucking coward. Using items again. Babe, look at me. You said I was your favorite, remember? I'm buying a new phone tomorrow and I'll send you selfies every day, so you'll never forget my face. Their shouting was eventually muffled by the door. Inside, my glasses-wearing husband clutched his head as soon as he stepped in. My head. I climbed into his lap and cradled his head. Crunch, crunch. I started biting at the black fog wrapped around his brow. You pushed me away last time, I reminded him while chewing. Told me to get lost. So I didn't finish clearing it. His hands gripped my waist. I was wrong, babe. I'm sorry. I finally figured some things out, he said quietly. From beginning to end. It's always been just us. I didn't really get it. But I kept chewing. Then somehow, I was chewing on his lips instead. He swept me up into his arms. That chair's too damn uncomfortable. Can I sleep in the bed tonight? I nodded. And we slept soundly. Not just one night. 6. Maria said I'd been smiling a lot lately. I said she was imagining things. Every day was the same, wasn't it? She clicked her tongue, shaking her head. You've got a glow, girl. Your husband's really something, huh? He's become a familiar face around the neighborhood. Even asked the folks to look after you. Speak of the devil. He's here to pick you up again. I turned around and saw my wild-skinned husband. Maria reached into her crepe pan and handed something over. He caught me effortlessly as I ran into his arms. What, just gonna leap at me like that, huh? I nuzzled into his chest. You're strongest when you're in this skin. He gave a crooked smile, clearly pleased. I asked about the other two, the ones always borrowing his face. He said they had something else to handle. Another trip? I asked. I dropped my gaze, feeling my mood sink. Hey! He rubbed my back, voice soft. I'll be back before you know it. He walked me back to the stand and said, I'm picking something up. Pack me a tub of ice cream. I've got an appointment with someone who needs a little discipline. And just like that, my life returned to its familiar rhythm. Every morning at 10 a.m., I opened my ice cream stand, worked the day, clocked out precisely at 6 p.m. Like an NPC stuck in an infinite loop. Maria pried her